Founded by John Allen, a wealthy Texas oilman, Biosphere 2 was constructed between 1987 and 1991. Allen worked for a company called Space Biosphere Ventures, which helped to fund the building of Biosphere 2. Biosphere 2 was created to demonstrate the viability of closed ecological systems to support and maintain human life. Biosphere 2 is located in Oracle, Arizona. It contains 5 different biological communities: an ocean with a coral reef, mangrove wetlands, tropical rainforests, savanna grasslands, and a fog desert. All of these biomes come together to make up a replica of the Earth's ecosystems. Biosphere 2 is a 3.14-acre research facility. It consists of an above-ground airtight area, a below-ground technology area, and an area for human habitation. There's also the Energy Center, an external building that circulates air to the air handlers inside the biosphere. Biosphere 2's first mission began September 26, 1991. The people sealed inside the biosphere, called Biospherians, remained sealed inside for 2 years until September 26, 1993. The people sealed inside the biosphere were self-selected enthusiasts who were trained to carry out the difficult mission. The facility generated 2 missions where they locked the volunteers in the biosphere. It was designed to allow scientists to complete experiments related to our Earth and its ecosystem on a smaller, more controlled scale. The goal was to test the success of a manufactured replica of the Earth's ecosystem and how effective it could be in a different environment or planet. Nature in the biosphere was the main aspect to the society. To create a replica of Earth's ecosystem, Biosphere 2 contained different communities of plants and animals called biomes. The agricultural system provided 83% of the crew's diet. The crew recycled their water and air and grew all of their own food without using any chemicals. Each of the Biospherians living inside the facility had designated jobs that worked to keep the habitat running smoothly. This ranged from working in the lab to waste management, but the Biospherians spent most of their time farming. This was considered the most important job since all of their food had to be harvested in the organic farm they had in the biosphere. Living in confinement proved to be very difficult for the Biospherians. During both missions, arguments arose that led them to divide into 2 groups with very different opinions on how to handle the situations. One group thought they needed to open the biosphere to get more supplies, while the others pushed back in fears of ruining the experiment. In her article, 2 Years Under the Glass, the first Biosphere mission, Kara Rogers describes the current uses of Biosphere 2 as a scientific research institute managed and operated by the University of Arizona. There are classrooms, research facilities, and they offer educational programs to the public. During the 2 years that the Biospherians committed to their mission, they were completely isolated from the outside world. In his article, Biosphere 2, What Really Happened, Mark Nelson, a member of the first Biosphere mission, said that they could only communicate with their families on the phone or through the glass window they were trapped behind. In 1994, during Biosphere 2's second mission, 2 Biospherians from the original mission were accused of breaking into the facility and damaging the seals that kept out any outside air. Abigail Alling and Mark Van Thillo were arrested for their crime, but justified it by saying that they feared for the lives of the 7 Biospherians in isolation during the current mission. Despite the limited food supply in Biosphere 2, the Biospherians were able to reserve alcohol and other treats for parties and celebrations. They had to reduce their own alcohol, which consisted of banana wine, rice beer, and beet whiskey. In his article, Mark Nelson stated that everyone hated the alcohol they made, but they still drank it. In their free time, the Biospherians participated in their own theater company called Theater of All Possibilities. Additionally, they would gather together to play instruments or sing. Another way they passed time was by completing smaller science experiments. They also held celebrations and feasts when they had the time and resources to do so. There were many visible cons to the experiments at Biosphere 2. However, the missions were set with the best intentions of learning more about our ecological systems and sustainability. However, the lack of oxygen and increase of carbon dioxide in the biosphere created a potentially dangerous society that threatened the lives of the people living there. Before entering the biosphere, the researchers discussed how they would handle potential problems such as sexual encounters. All of the 4 men and 4 women were single and agreed that they would keep their sex lives to be their own business. While they accepted the possibilities of sexual encounters, if one of the experimenters were to become pregnant, they would have to leave the biosphere, having an extremely negative effect on the experiment. The Biosphereans used art to entertain themselves while in isolation. Many of them were avid theater lovers and continued their practice while in the biosphere. Before the creation of Biosphere 2, many of the Biosphereans were part of a group called the Synergians and were a theater group among many other things. Later in the Biosphere, they formed their own theater group and held performances whenever they could. Due to their isolation, the Biosphereans did not engage in any trade with the outside world. However, there are rumors that when one researcher got injured and secretly left the Biosphere to seek treatment, they returned with a duffel bag full of supplies. The small act of leaving the Biosphere and exposing the environment to outside air was extremely damaging to the credibility of the project. Being isolated inside the Biosphereans had no need for money. They used their resources to create all of their own food. For example, it took them 4 months to make their own pizza. With a large supply of 3,000 species of plants and animals, the Biosphereans had no reason to purchase other items. The Biosphereans split their work equally to create a society that could run efficiently. However, the constant need to farm and work to keep the environment sustainable was very difficult for them. In the podcast, Nice Try, host Avery Trufelman describes the Biosphereans as high-tech peasants. The Biosphere 2 experiments have repeatedly been described as huge failures. During the first mission, the oxygen fell so low they had to open the airlocks daily to draw external air into the facility, contradicting the goal and credibility of the experiment. They failed to achieve maximal food protection, and there are rumors that they began to secretly smuggle in food.